Welcome everyone, welcome to Tech Talk Friday, and every Friday we have fun, right? Because we bring a bunch of technology geeks and entrepreneurs and all kinds of technology wannabes, and we talk technology. I'm the only one apparently on the show without a beard, so I'll be introducing my bearded co-host in a bit. But just to kick off, and as we wait for some of you guys to join in the fun, we'll show you a little bit about Nicole. Welcome back to the Friday, and Karamjit Singh is in the house today. He's wearing, I'm not sure what that represents. Karam, tell us, is this the fine new, the new Karamjit Singh? Wearing
look, you have got a deputy VC of what I consider to be one of the top two, computer science, technical universities in Southeast Asia. Forget about Malaysia. Of course, you got to dress up. Then you got the CEO of a leading telco company appearing on the show. So, you got to look a bit more professional today, that's all.
All right. So we've got the amazing lineup today. We've got a bunch of guests today. We've got Afzal from Time who'll be joining us. We've got Ram from Asia Mobiliti, and then we've got Professor Vinesh, and also later Dash. And this time he won't be jogging; he'll actually be at home, and he might be able to talk, give us more than 2 or 3 sentences without puffing away. So we've got a show for you lined up today. And joining us today, I think you want to line up our first guest from Time. Our buddy Afzal will be joining us.
Okay, so if Afzal is already in the show, is it?
Okay. Hey Afzal.
Hey guys, how are you? This is a rather high energy thing. Are you guys feeling okay?
No, usually Karam has a whole dose of specific drugs that I can't mention on screen. Other than that,
just let me take a puff.
All right, Karam, you want to talk to us about Afzal? So Afzal, welcome to the show. Really glad to have you with us.
So look, Afzal is.
No, I'm just getting high. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So Afzal's ready, and we've got Ram coming on. So Ram, get ready for the high in a bit. So Karam, you want to do a quick intro to Afzal?
Yeah. So look, we were trying to bring Afzal on earlier, right? So the main reason is because we want to talk about the 5G, special purpose vehicle, which is
called
guys, Broadband National Malaysia, and because the analyst reports say that Time Telecom and Telecom Malaysia will be 2 of the clear winners because their fiber connectivity will be heavily utilized in this new era of 5G, and the blood, sweat, and tears that Afzal has put in over the last 18, 19 years to build, Time, and before that, he's a data center business is paying off now beautifully. But more importantly, is because Afzal is well known in the industry to speak his mind and to even eat while speaking his mind, which is a very hard thing to do. Exactly. So we want to get Afzal's opinions and on what he thinks about this surprise of getting a single infrastructure company which is run by government, not previously under Gobin's time, run collectively by the telcos. And we really want to know whether it's good for the country or not, and his concerns maybe, and what he thinks is the upside to this lah. So Afzal, you want to share with us first your thoughts on whether you think this special purpose,
and people are already waiting. It's like Shaji is like, oh boy, this is gonna be interesting. So Afzal, you gotta give us some power pack answer here. So quick, Afzal, I don't want Karam to talk much. We need you to have more talk time. So go for it. He's still drinking.
No. I just realized that I had been set up, you buggers. Anyway. So mula-mulanya saya sokong sepenuhnya kerajaan Perikatan Nasional dan segala dasar-dasarnya sekali. So let me just start by saying that. Beyond that, beyond that humor, I think look, so everyone's going to have a viewpoint on what an SPV does.
True.
I think the question that we need to ask ourselves is what really is the contention here? So what's clear is that My Digital is trying to address, rather Jendela and as one of the anchors of my digital, is trying to address something that we haven't really addressed too well over the years, right? And that is that despite efforts, despite policy, despite all the rest of it, we're still unhappy. And when I mean we, I mean the industry, the regulator, and Malaysians in general are still relatively unhappy with the quality of our connectivity. Let's just talk about it as connectivity, whether it's mobile, fixed, whatever. I think we're generally speaking still unhappy or not satisfied with the quality of our connectivity, right? It also doesn't. It also helps that Malaysians hold us to higher standards because Malaysians are also relatively well traveled, right?
True.
So as we travel around the place, we kind of understand what's available. Funny enough, when we go to countries with lesser connectivity issues than ours, we are quite understanding. But if they do not have as good connectivity as us, or better than us, we start saying, why can't we be like that? So that I think is a positive thing that Malaysians are basically a relatively exposed lot, right? So how do we solve the issue of connectivity? So let's be very clear. Connectivity is only solved, or quality of connectivity is only solved through better infrastructure or more comprehensive infrastructure. So first, you need to reach people, and secondly, you need to ensure that you have big enough pipes to reach people. Yep. And you have to get as closest to people as possible, right? This rural-urban divide is not a uniquely Malaysian thing. And to be fair, my sworn enemy, Imri at Telecom Malaysia, and his company have done a decent job of rolling out HSBD infrastructure, right? I think the government in the past and the regulator had erred in not holding them accountable to quality. They held them accountable to roll out, but not to quality. And thus, as a result, they could have done a better job had they been held accountable, right? But it's the 30,000 people in TM that basically, provide the 3.5 million ports of port availability there. So now we realize that we need to go out to even deeper rural areas, right? Pockets that are basically missing. And during the Jendela exercise, we had a national digital infrastructure labs when Dr. Fazal took over MCMC. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about specifically kampongs that were as close as Kuala Selangor, or kampongs in and around Kuala Selangor, or even Kampar, right? Et cetera. And Kappa, excuse me. And what I want to say is that it's very unique. One particular area will have very good 4G connectivity, but no unified ports. And across the boundary, there are unified ports, but there isn't 4G availability. So Malaysia is a mixture of all these things. So what's important is to get a consistent approach. I think fundamentally we have to understand that there are basically 4 levers that one can push, 3 + 1 levers that one can push. You can push the coverage lever, therefore we're going to push for coverage at any given time in the lifetime of an industry. We can push the price lever, we can push the performance lever, and we can push the competition lever. But you can't basically push all 4 at the same time. So what was clear during the Pakatan administration was that Minister Gobin had pushed the price lever, the performance lever, and the competition lever. But there wasn't much push of the coverage lever.
Correct.
Today, the price lever has been kept where it is, the performance lever has been pushed, and the coverage lever has been pushed. Right? So these are all tools that regulators use, and there's nothing wrong about what Gobin did, nothing right about what Minister, Saifuddin is doing. They're just different flavors of time. I fundamentally believe that the coverage lever today is the one that needs to be pushed the furthest forward. And set that first, and then after that, figure out what you want to do with everything else. So we carried on with Jendela. We have a pretty decent plan. Chairman Fazal basically keeps us accountable every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks on a Wednesday.
Very stringent, correct.
He was dialed in. He gives us a hard time. He's kind of grumpy at times. He's kind of strict at times, but he keeps us to our tasks. I got told off for not rolling out to Malacca quick enough, and some promises that we made last week. And that's just maybe his heritage of being a technology person, a technocrat, as well as being in Pemandu for a while, looking at performance and execution, etc. Okay, so that's basically Jendela, right? Now within Jendela, as you know, we had so first of all, you have to understand what I think about 5G, right? So my belief, Karam, and you've heard me say this, is that I think that 5G is the biggest scam since Y2K.
Biggest scam since Y2K. Okay.
So Y2K was that the world's going to end, the computers cannot add up bits, and everyone's going to die. and there'll be horrible, nuclear war, and we're all
Consequence,
going to
yep.
die. Consequences, etc. I mean, nothing happened. I think some KDK fans went from speed 2 to speed 3 by themselves, but that was pretty much what happened. Right? And that's what happened. So I mean, let's be very clear about what I think my views are. It is recorded,
Yes.
and then
we happen to be live lah, but that's beside the point lah. But
no, but live means that people, but you actually record and you store this stuff.
Yeah, we will record and store. Yeah,
means, it's not forever lah. Yeah.
because
And then
we
you
want our
publish.
KL Hilton nasi lemak from you after this. You see?
Oh boy. Okay. So I mean, so Y2K is I believe that 5G is the biggest scam since Y2K, right? And here's what I believe. This is my theory. You can call me a conspiracy theorist. I think most of you probably know that I am. But it's quite simple, right? I mean, the broadcasters, the satellite broadcasters and the mobile operators are fighting over the same spectrum, right? And it's pretty much called mid-band, C-band. I don't know if you're aware of this. And some stuff happened in the US where satellite broadcaster A was asked to give up his spectrum, and I'm simplifying the whole situation, of course, by the FCC to a mobile operator, and they basically said somewhere and said, "Screw you, we won tens of billions of dollars," right? So the GSMA, the gods of mobility, decided that they're going to band together. They're the world's mobile operators. They started thinking, we need to win the hearts and minds of people by telling them that 5G is going to solve male pattern baldness and erectile dysfunction. And when it does, then they will basically push across to the regulators, and the regulators will then mandate this spectrum to us, right? So October 2018, and I mean, the GSMA guys actually hate my guts because I've said this at their conferences and it's been edited out, but this is my view. So it's a great marketing tool to tell people that 5G is the next thing since sliced bread. Which one of the Gs has ever solved any problem? Let's be very clear, right? It's always in the middle of the G, right? It's in the middle of the G that basically in the evolution of 3G, and I'm not talking about the G that you're thinking about, Karam. This is a kosher show, right? But the point I'm trying to say, kosher, halal, same thing. Please don't mistake me.
Karam, behave, Karam. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the point
I
I'm
want
trying
to
to say is
challenge Afzal that 4G has
Faisal.
done
I'm
a
going
lot
to
of
eat
good.
since you call me Faisal.
4G has also enabled a lot of things, right? People are able to use better quality broadband at home because there's no fiber, and then also it has enabled a lot more innovation also. So I think 4G has been absolutely valuable. I think has not reached the potential it says. I'm not personally happy with my 4G quality, right? What I expected, but still a lot of innovation and services have been developed and people are utilizing it on 4G, I think. So to be fair, it's not a total sham. 5G, the jury is still out, but I think you're going to be proven wrong on 5G also.
You think so?
Or at least on the enterprise space, I think you'll be proven wrong.
So I think that you have to understand that basically, and I'm going to push back on this, right? Because the fact of the matter is that if you think about where these speeds come from, it isn't a step function improvement, right? And what I mean by it isn't a step function improvement is that it takes a particular amount of time before one can basically make use of a particular technology, right? So will there be an evolution of technology at any point in time? Yes, of course there is. I mean, if we look at let's look at a simple analogy of the airplane jet engine, right? Airplane jet engines had a zero bypass ratio. Turbines were the order of the day. The function of the fan was merely as a compressor, and there were these little skinny things that sat in the middle of a 707. And over time, they realized that you can improve stuff by actually using the fan as a major part of creating thrust, and there's a bypass around the compressor and combustion, and there you go, the turbofan, the modern jet is born, right? But I mean, at the end of the day,
sorry. By the way, those listening, Afzal is not bullshitting his way through. He's actually an amateur pilot, so he knows his pilot stuff also a bit about engines.
Amateur pilot. I am so offended. I'm so offended by calling me amateur pilot. But anyway, cut long story short. Oh my God, I tell you, now you really start. Now you really got me going. The internal combustion engine, your 4-cylinder, 4-stroke engine, effectively based on the Otto cycle, started off with a wet efficiency of 20-30%. A lot of the calorific value of the fuel you're injecting was lost to heat, was lost to noise, was lost to all sorts of stuff, and back to the atmosphere again. They created variable valve timing, active valve train, tumble and swirl combustion chambers, twin sparks, all the rest of it, induction charging, supercharging, turbocharging. But no one actually calls it a revolution like how the telcos are so dramatic and says 5G, right? It's the responsibility of the damn vendors to improve the bloody
Yep. Absolutely.
equipment so it gets better. Lah. I mean, do you
Yeah.
see people making a big deal about Wi-Fi 802.11 A, B, C, D, N, G?
Not to
We
end,
don't, right? Because you know why? Our fixed line people, we got class, lah, not like these bloody mobile jokers. Lah. Okay? So that's
No,
the fact.
maybe you are just stuck in an industry which doesn't know how to brand itself, and your envy is now pouring forth in with this vitriol against them.
No.
I
Sorry,
see
lah.
a man
Yes,
who's
I mean,
angry and envious.
They're all a bunch of pansies.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
Everything they want
let me
the basic one.
Afzal, no. So Afzal,
Yeah.
listen. So we've decided to build a single infrastructure owned by the
Wait,
government.
you push me back. I haven't explained yet. You tak boleh. Ini macam
Go ahead, Afzal.
don't interview like this, you know. Anyway,
Cepat cakap. Saya mau tanya soalan saya juga.
Okay, understand. I'm trying to buy time because I have to answer the contentious question. So the point I'm trying to say is that during the evolution of a generation of wireless technology, there are sub-evolutions which taken place. HSPA release 1 to release 7. And during this time, that's when the real innovation came, right? Now, 5G is also a means for equipment providers to sell newer equipment.
Of course lah.
You have to understand that, right? Okay. So, but what I'm saying that 5G is the biggest scam since Y2K is the fact that we're creating so much drama about 5G, right? I mean, even to the point that I refuse to be there in the photo where we're all in Langkawi, you know, with the 8th Prime Minister, 7th Prime Minister, today is the 8th Prime Minister, the 7th Prime Minister, I lost count, with basically PM7 doing this stupid hand gesture. I feel like doing another gesture, lah. Okay? And we think that it's going to solve everything. It's not ready to solve everything. It is understand that we have been manipulated because it is a campaign by operators. It is about spectrum. It's about selling more equipment. Okay? So we should just go and sort it out ourselves and not make a big drama about it. And then maybe we'll basically do it faster. Go on, tell me.
You slightly hung there, I think, Afzal.
Oh no, I'm on a Unify network. Is that the problem?
I was gonna say you should switch to your own network. Don't use Unify. Yeah.
If you can get MPKJ in Kajang to allow us to dig the roads here, I'm sure I'll have time in my house. But I'm on Unify, unfortunately. And to be fair, I don't think it's Unify. I think it's just Wi-Fi. To be fair to Unify.
Oh, okay.
Unify has been performing pretty well, actually. So what I wanted to say is that, coming back to it, right? So first of all, understand that it's not going to solve everything. So why have an SPV? So let's not talk about the SPV, because the problem is that we're fixated as usual about the term SPV. It doesn't matter whether it's an SPV, a BDB, a CDB, a C3PO, or an R2T2. It doesn't matter. The point is that there's going to be a single entity.
So for those who are listening, when Afzal is frozen, is because we are censoring the foul four-letter words, like, because those who know him will know those come sequentially. So that's why we're freezing him. It's deliberately being done.
No, Afzal sounds fine here. Go ahead.
So to be fair, I think the fact of the matter is that we're focused. We are just so preoccupied with that government is owning it.
No, actually, the vendors are preoccupied, I think, and I think, Afzal, the fact that we are only having a single network is beautiful, right? Okay, the hype is there, but we are not having everybody race and build their own network. So this is minimizing the damage.
No. Don't simplify the issue. Hello, I'm the pretend network. I'm the bullshit network engineer. You are the pretend journalist. Don't get confused. Okay? So let's be clear where we are. The fact that I want to say is that there are benefits of having a single operator.
Yes.
But there are benefits. There are more benefits in having a single continuous spectrum.
Okay.
But also you have to understand there are multiple ways in which you can slice and dice the spectrum. And I'm far from being an expert, and I was educated where we attempted to put the consortium together by my brothers. Now I'm being nice to them because I feel bad about calling them pansies. You're still pansies, but you're my brothers. In the mobile space, who educated me on what were the various methods that we could employ in order for us to build a consortium-based network. So why we're fixated? The media is fixated on the fact that it's a government-owned SPV. Let's just ignore that for a second. Let's talk about the concept of where we are with respect to how we are trying to figure out how we can work together to do a rollout. So there's benefits in basically having a single management company, a single
Okay.
infraco. Okay, the benefits are hopefully you can do speed of rollout. You'll force the operators to stop, fighting with each other. You'll do more infrastructure sharing. You'll do more fiberization. Blah 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 blah. So there's benefits of that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also drawbacks. For example, depending on how you use spectrum, it could be disastrous for battery life, for device battery life. I mean, that's how granular you can get, because you
Okay.
could have multiple spectrums across a single operator. Today, you have a single spectrum across one operator. If you have this gone, and you can hunt on one or roam or whatever the right
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
what the right phrase is, and you do a lot of RAN sharing and all the rest of it, then what happens is that your battery life could go to shits, right? So there's pros, there's technical pros and cons, which I'm not going to go into because I'm not qualified, right?
True.
But one thing I realized is I learned from my brothers and sisters, to be politically correct now. Sisters, you're not pansies. You're much braver than your brothers in the mobile industry. Um, on basically what the pros and cons are.
Okay.
Okay, and it's too difficult to go through. Even the show goes, I'll need a slide. I have no idea what to talk. Let us basically figure out what is basically happening there. Okay.
Sure.
Now, but the point of the matter here now is that now that we've been dealt with this card, and the government
Yes.
has decided that we are going to take over, how do we make the best of it? Like,
Exactly.
do I think it can be a disaster? Yes, it can be a disaster, for sure.
I
government
do not think so. No. This is just fear mongering. Remember 2008, what happened, Afzal? They said that if Penang were to fall to opposition, Koya, no char kway teow and all this, no nasi kanda, everything, right? Everything go to hell. Nothing happened. And then when the government changed also, nothing bad happened except for a 95-year-old man doing his ugly maneuvering. So, and when Selangor fell to opposition also, nothing bad happened. So, I totally do not believe this thing that a single network is a recipe for disaster. I think you just have to be brave, that people are smart enough,
Okay.
technology is evolving all the time, that we can solve it way faster than the nightmare scenario.
Okay. I mean, let's not mistake parliamentary political analogies and fluff that's said by politicians to people versus a fact. The Australian NBN has been, in my opinion, an unmitigated disaster.
Okay.
And it has been an unmitigated disaster because they spent, and I forget what the number is, something like 40 odd billion Aussie dollars to reach 92 or 94% of the population.
Okay.
They started with ex-Telstra people who gold-plated the network, who basically were not innovative enough, and innovation and competitiveness was done insofar as the rollout is concerned. The government spent way too much money. It's over budget. They use hybrid coax connectivity for certain areas. It's a freaking mess. So this is an example of how not to run a government infrastructure company. Okay. The Nucleus Connect Singapore argument was slightly better, but Singapore is about the size of USJ, so anyone can build infrastructure. Let's be clear. Okay. Well, I'm being unfair. It's the size of USJ 12 to USJ 15 and maybe parts of Sungai Way, right? But that's about the size of what Singapore is, so it's easy to do, right? In this case, we have to make sure that we have got the right leadership. So, quite frankly, if I was going to do a national project and if I was going to roll it out, I would want Uncle Ralph to do it. I mean, he's only been one of the, let's be fair to the man. He's scary, and I get intimidated speaking to him. But he has probably built some of the best Malaysian companies, or amongst the best Malaysian companies. He knows what he's doing. He's execution minded. He's singularly focused, etc., etc. So the government decided to take this route. Would I have taken this route if I was in absolute power and had Kuasa mutlak? No, I would not have. But the government decided to. So then again, you talk about the pros and cons. Number one, because government is doing it, chances are that they are going to end up overpaying. And I'm not even talking about any hanky-panky or funny stuff, right? I'm just saying that government can never be efficient as private sector, point number one. Okay,
but this is not government. This is Ralph Marshall and the team he's hiring. It's not civil servants. It's private sector people running the tender, the procurement RFP. So I think you're wrong there. So Afzal, even if
I think you're being very, very naive.
Okay.
Right? There is a manner in which the operators basically put tension between one bidder to another, third bidder to a fourth, one cycle to another, swap out versus something else. They will not have such tools at their disposal. It's not only about people like Ralph and Douche and the other people who are there who are trying to do their best. It's not. It's also the cards that they're basically dealt with. So I mean, just comparatively, I've never seen a government-owned entity whether or not it's staffed by private sector people or civil servants, that has been able to do a better job of procurement than the penny-wise private sector folk, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay. So
Let's wait and see.
that's the thing I want to say. However, I think there are benefits. If we follow the Viettel model in Vietnam, because they're owned or controlled by the military, and can get permits everywhere to build fiber, bridges, whatever, and use the army for the help. Heck, I hope that General Ralph, General Augustus, is going to have the benefit of the Malaysian army to help roll out some of this infrastructure. So I hope that the 5G, that DNB, Digital National Berhad, is given a waiver on all permits to lay stuff around the country.
Okay.
Because as you know, it's the local councils that are holding us ransom to go and deploy. So there's benefits in speed of deployment. Okay? But understand that we must understand that even in Australia, a white country where people are supposedly more honest and supposedly, as you told me before, right, Karam, white people are smarter than brown people. I don't agree with you, by the way, for the record.
I totally agree. I will defend it to the death. To the death.
Okay. But the point I want to say is that if they can make mistakes, so can I.
Okay. Fine.
All right. We need to probably wrap this up, Afzal, but there's a couple of questions coming on from different folks.
Sure.
I think one of the biggest comments is from David, who says, "Guys, get a room, get a town hall, and brothers can talk about it." But a quick question from him also in terms of I guess most of it at least seem to say that they seem to support you to say that maybe is there really this legitimacy of this whole actual technical breakthrough? Is it really?
No. David, don't be a sheep. Don't support him. Don't support him.
Well, that's what I see most of it. Shaji seems to say the same thing. He says Afzal says that it is no BF, no fluff. So Karam, I'm not sure whether you have too many supporters on this. But Afzal, really appreciate your time.
Let me just finish that. Let me just be very quick. Sure. There is a legitimate technical evolution. Is it as dramatic and as amazing as we say that it is, or they're saying that it is? No, it's not. And is it enough to get people preoccupied that it's going to solve all their problems? No. So what I'm concerned about is a distraction factor, that 5G is going to save anything. And because of that, we'll be focused on 5G. And when it fails to deliver, as every single technology takes time to basically deliver, then we get caught up.
Okay. And Afzal, I know we've been talking, it's been a good debate on this whole thing, but, for our viewers, can you share just in 30 seconds to 45 seconds, one final thought and insight, maybe something that our viewers can take home for the weekend and ponder and reflect and feel good or feel inspired. So I'm going to put you on the spot, inspire us in 30 seconds, man. Tell us something that we can hold on for the weekend and feel, man.
Get on Lazada and buy two things. Right. One is an Ethernet cable, and the second is an Ethernet to USB or USB-C adapter for your laptop. Buy a long cable. On Monday morning, when your Zoom meetings start, plug it in, and then you realize how crappy Wi-Fi as a standard is. The one thing I've been doing to people over the past year since the MCO started is if you want to improve your Zoom performance, your whatever performance, buy an Ethernet cable.
Fantastic.
That's about as inspiring as I can get.
All right, but it's a very good, technically inspiring message for all of us. Get an Ethernet cable, and there you go.
Second thing, thank you so much.
Yep.
I'm allowed to say second thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nothing. I've got nothing to say. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Much appreciated.
I mean, that was like what we call potong steam, right? You tease us, and then you go back,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Hey, appreciate your time. Afzal, take care, and we will have you back. Hopefully, we will get you on a full show, and we can talk to the cows come home a little bit more. Afzal joining us just now from Time Engineering. Karam, where's Karam? Karam disappeared. There you go.
I need Afzal to stay on because he's also an angel investor, right? And he's with Endeavor. I need him to comment on what Ram will be talking about. So get him back.
All right, so Afzal, stay on, and we will get you back into the studio.
Producer, call Afzal and get him to stay on the show for a while. Yeah.
All right. So Afzal, stay on, have a drink, change your shirt, come, dress yourself again, and be back soon. But in the meantime, we've got Ram, right? So Ram is quite an interesting character, right? So I've known Ram a little bit, he's been in kind of doing humanitarian work and social work, and then now he's running Asia Mobility. So Karam, you want to quickly introduce Ram? And Ram, welcome to our show. Let me bring Ram into our show and have you here. Ram also has a beard. So I think this one I have to leave both of you in private bearded conversation together. So Ram, go for it, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
So look, Ram, so Afzal is still in the background, and I want Afzal to stay there because he's a mentor with Endeavour Malaysia, and he's also invests in lots of entrepreneurs. And I want to get his perspective also of what you are doing now, which is super rare. And in fact, next week, I'm going to try to get somebody from the Singapore startup ecosystem to come on the show and talk about what the startups they are doing, what you have done, right? And what you are doing, which is, you've actually embarked on a joint R&D project, right? With Taylor's, with Monash University, right? Where you've sponsored a 3-year doctoral student, right? Who's doing research involving what algorithms and machine learning models, right? Using sensor generated data and all that incredible stuff around traffic. And the reason why it's around traffic, for everyone who doesn't know, is Asia Mobiliti is a Malaysian homegrown mobility technology developer, all right? So, Ram, tell us why you decided to do this and whether you found value in it, and also why you think no other startup does it. I can't even say so few, right? No other startup does it. And I bet you when we get Afzal on, he has built time into a multi-billion-dollar market cap company without ever collaborating with the engineering school of University Technology Malaysia or University Science or somebody like that. So why?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question, Karama. When I co-founded Asia Mobility, we wanted to build a startup that is going to solve big real problems of public transportation in Malaysia. That is the real purpose behind it, right? It's not just for the sake of building cool new technology, but it has to solve real world problems, and that was the heart behind Asia Mobility. And so in that, we realized that to solve big problems, really, we have to invest in R&D.
Okay.
And therefore, we have to generate value by building stuff. It's not just making something a little bit better, but really building stuff on our own and getting our hands dirty and really being able to understand the technology and really pushing it to the limit and being able to see what's being used elsewhere in the world and then learn from that, but then also build stuff that will work here, right? Oftentimes, I think as startups and as owners of businesses, sometimes, of course, the commercial drive is how can we get value quickly, right? What is the shortest way in order to get to the end of the rainbow, right? And I completely understand that because we have got only a finite amount of resource. We've got to make most with the little that we've got, right? That is the whole value proposition of a startup, right? How can I create more from less? But having said that, you can't create more if you are not a creator, and therefore we have to invest in real R&D in order for us to be, generating value here. And that has been part and parcel of our short journey so far. We are just under a 3-year-old startup, and and we see the value of really investing into building stuff that we own, right? So we own all the stuff that we've built so far. We are an IoT company, we are a journey planning company, we are a mobility as a service company. And in trying to do all of that, we had to figure this out on our own.
Yeah.
And so how it got started with our collaboration with Monash University Malaysia is actually, it started off not me going up of knowing somebody and say, hey, let's do R&D together. It didn't start like that. It started off with us basically tapping into my staff. So I've got a couple of engineers who, graduated from Monash University Malaysia.
Okay.
So they are an alumni, and they were really good students, and they kept in touch with their professor, with their lecturers there. And so when we started, prototyping an IoT device, which is a telematics device that should sit on vehicles, we built it out from the ground up, right? And we decided, look, can we reach out to the university? So one of my engineers said, hey, Monash University is participating in the Shell Eco Marathon race, which is a green energy vehicle race.
Correct.
All the universities, it happens every year.
Yep.
So when one of their lecturers found out that this engineer is now with me in Asia Mobiliti, and we're building this. He said, look, would you like to give us a telematics device to track our race car? So our first prototype, our very first prototype, and it was probably this big, I think the device, set on a green energy vehicle that participated in a Shell Eco Marathon race on the F1 track, right?
Okay, Sepang.
Yeah, and so we basically just went there and said, look, you guys, use this device and we'll build something up, quickly for you as a dashboard. And we loved doing that. And in so doing, we struck up a partnership with the university on a very real level that, hey, these guys could do something for us, and they love being here with us in an F1 track, So it was me using that same time to prototype something, but at the same time building collaboration with the university, right? And so it's being able to do both at the same time. And then the next step came where we say, okay, look, when the lecturer learned more about what we were doing, she got excited about the fact, hey, can we do a bit more with you guys? Can you support my...
It was her suggestion, very interesting. Lucky she was proactive. Okay.
Yes. So it was her suggestion when she realized that we kept going back and saying, hey, can we do this? Can we do this? She said, hey, why not we do like an R&D thing? I've got a student who is thinking of doing this, right? Can we partner, right? So then I asked her, look, what is the model here? Like, you tell me, right? And then I realized there isn't a model, and they're trying to figure it out as well, right? So then I realized, okay, this is new for both of us. So then for me as the CEO of the business, I thought this is a great time for me to align our R&D work with the support of a university, because that's what they're really good at in terms of planning R&D and being able to scope out research. But what they needed was the commercial input in order to determine which R&D work is going to be worth our time and their time. So that is where they've always felt there's a whole bunch of R&D being done all the time in every university, but it never sees the light of day from a commercial point of view, right? There is no commercialization. So that was when I came in and said, look, let me provide the commercial input so that let's jointly pick an R&D that is going to have research value for you as a publication, but commercial value for me at the end, right? And so we said, look, let's do this. And so it's a long-term R&D that we have collaborated with now. It started off with this particular student. So it's one student that started off with us in his final year, project as an undergraduate student. His final year project, that was last year. Okay. And he started off in that as an intern with us. So he's part of our team, but he's still a student, right? And so we have basically embedded him into our team. So the R&D is being done under our roof with the support guidance of his university lecturer, and he's still a student, right? Okay. And the selection of that student was done by the lecturer because she wanted to pick the top student because she knew that this meant that he needed to work and study at the same time, right? Okay. So she had to pick the cream of the crop to do this. And I just say, look, you find the student for me. I will help guide the research direction. So we did something in the space of mobility. So his final year project was in using drones in order to sense other drones. So the drone scanning thing, right? But our input there was this: we wanted him to use the millimeter wave radar sensors. Sure. Because we were working on those things, right? But not in the context of drones. But he wanted drones, so we kind of like melded it together, right? You want to work with. I want to study the millimeter wave radars. Let's combine it. And that was how we learned to collaborate. So then he finished his final year project. He was almost a 4.0 student, right? So we were very happy with that. We, completely were, championing him on and cheering him on. So the entire team got, behind this student. And he did his presentation, and he did a mock presentation for us before he did it with his lecturer. So we really enjoyed that process. But that was first half of a 3.5-year R&D collaboration. Now the 3 years is his PhD study now. So now he's a PhD student. He's a PhD student now. So he went from an undergraduate directly to a PhD.
Really? You can do that? I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So if you are picked by the university and you do really well, they would pick a cohort of students from an undergraduate level to do a PhD with the university. And so for the PhD then, because he's starting fresh, we had the opportunity to define what his PhD research is about.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Right.
So you had more control at his PhD level, right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And, but you're also paying for his PhD, correct?
No, we're not paying for his PhD because he's sponsored by the university.
University. Okay.
Yeah, so we have got like an R&D fund that we set aside, which basically translates to a stipend for him as he works with us.
Okay.
Right. So as a startup, we don't have a lot of money to pay somebody to do a PhD, but we have got just enough for him to function as a team member. Right.
Okay.
And
so I'm saying, you said you're almost 3 years old, and this collaboration only started about a year ago, right? So in your first 2 years, you started out building something. Why didn't you think then that, hey, we should look at university, science university, or technology university, or UTM in Malacca, which is very good, right? The University Technical Malacca, Malaysia, whatever. So why didn't you think of it earlier? I'm curious about that. Did you have a perception that it's pointless, to collaborate with universities, academia?
No, I think we have always wanted to find areas of collaboration with local academia, particularly. But it's always a question of, okay, who would be interested to do this? We're not sure. Would there be any interested universities to work with an early stage startup back then, right? So from our point of view, we had to prove our value first. So we had to build first. We had to understand what it means to do IoT R&D. We had to be experts in that field first, right? As the developers. Then at that point, once there was a sense of comfort level in terms of, okay, we know what we're doing, right? And then was when we realized, okay, now it's time for us to reach out to the university and say, work together and build something together.
So is this do you think that you're going to I'm going to bring on Professor Vinesh soon, but just quickly answer this question. Do you feel that you're able to replicate this and maybe work with another student on something else parallel or totally different? Now that you have experienced it and you've learned, you're still learning as you go along, but way more comfortable. Hey guys, this really works, and it quickens our pace of innovating, right? What do you think?
Yes, we are actually right now talking about a second student.
Wow.
Yeah. So in a new area, in a completely new area, but we see great opportunities there. We've got some commercial partners who want to actually look at an investment in that area as well. So I'm using I'm using this really to establish ourselves as a real R&D outfit, but not just an R&D outfit for the purposes of just R&D. It's a startup that is able to do R&D on its own in collaboration and generate new products, new value out of this.
Quicker. Okay.
There's a couple of questions I just want to address because we got lots of conversations going on the side with on social media. Ram, it's inspiring from Jasbir. Culture of continuous innovation. She wants to know if does it involve some sort of design thinking methodology in terms of what you're doing?
Well, in some sense, yes, but we are not strict adherents to that. We learn the best of the frameworks, the best of the methodologies, and then we make it work for us. Yeah.
Quick comment from Nigesh, who says, interesting insight that I got last night, which is similar to what Ram just mentioned. I was having a conversation with Wes Stringfellow from How To. He likewise mentioned time is required in creating value and owning the base technology is key to innovation and interpretation. I guess you agree with that, right?
Absolutely. I think, the whole idea, when we talk about our innovation and startups, it always reminds me of a garage where Jobs and Wozniak was in, right? Our goal as startups is to constantly create a garage environment.
Yep.
A garage environment where the Jobs and the Wozniaks can, constantly create stuff. Right? Absolutely. That is where real value is. So for me, this is my garage. My garage is that in my startup, I've got a bridge to a university and I've got that PhD student who is part of my team, right? He's an Asia Mobiliti engineer. That is my garage. That's my job. That's my Wozniak. And my role as the CEO is to create more of those.
Okay, and David Liu, who was commenting quite a bit with Afzal just now, he says, look, we have amazing scientists and technologists locally, not marketed well. We can help streamline a group of different researchers with existing patents too. So anytime. So Ram, David's there for you to connect with. Our show, one of the things we do in our show is to connect people, and David wants to connect with you and say, he can get you a whole bunch of patents apparently. So there you go,
Wow.
David. Thanks for that, and we'll connect you guys with Ram. So Ram, as we close out this thing, again, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm not gonna quiz you. Every week I have this special quiz where I ask crazy questions to our guests. Unfortunately, because we've got a couple more guests that are coming, I want to get your final thoughts, right? I mean, if you could leave us with one inspired. Just now we had the Ethernet inspiration from Afzal.
Actually, that was a very sly sales pitch. I have it on reliable resources that Afzal is a shareholder in all the digital malls in Klang Valley. Okay.
Well, some of our guests think it's proven advice. So according to Nigesh, he says it's proven advice. So I'm not sure about that. Again, Karam is the contrarian, but we will leave it at that. Ram, I'm not asking about Ethernets anymore. But if you could leave one inspiring final thought, what would that be?
I think, in the quest for creating more high-value startups in Malaysia, I think one of the areas that the government or the ecosystem needs to reward is in the area of R&D collaboration. We need to reward people for working together.
Okay.
Sometimes we have created an environment where it's a winner-take-all approach, where the best guy takes it all, or the best guy has got, his stake into the entire fund, for example, right? We are not rewarding collaboration enough. So we need to reward collaboration, especially in such a time as this, where I really feel the pandemic has caused us to find new partners and collaborate to survive. It's time that we start rewarding collaboration who is creating value. So it's not just a collaboration between startup and say a research institution, but it could be a startup and a startup. Startup A and startup B, right? And they have come together and brought about what they have built separately, and by joining it solves a new problem, right? So we need to reward that, because that is where the value generation happens, and we got to think, we have got to not place R&D in a lab anymore. R&D should be everywhere. R&D should be in your house, in your room, in your home, in your home office. R&D should be in startups, right? And so to basically demystify R&D, that R&D is something which is a cost center. No, R&D should be a profit center.
Yep. No, and I think it's well said. And we've got a person who's joining us, Professor, in a bit, who is going to add a little bit color, I think, to that. We're going to take a short break. So Ram, I think you're going to stick around, right, Ram?
Yes, sir.
If you can stick around. I think Afzal will find a way to find him after this. But Ram's going to stick around, and we'll have a final conversation with everybody in the house. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick short 30-second break, and we'll be right back with a very, very interesting follow-up conversation with some academicians. So we just hold on a second.
Woi, bro.
Apa dia?
Aku message kau 50 kali, tak balas.
Alah bro, aku tak
ni?
ada time lah bro message. Aku sekarang tengah Nicole bro. Nicole lah, itu dia in sekarang. Tengah trending tengah kacau.
Kau cakap apa? Apa tu?
Nicole, kau tak tahu Nicole? Google kau tahu? Nicole kau tak tahu? Tak, Nicole app untuk belajar bro. Semua tengah belajar guna Nicole sekarang.
Ilmu
semua tengah guna Nicole.
Share sikit lah.
Boleh bro, kau tengok macam ni bro.
Okay.
Kau kalau kau lembab, kau kena Nicole bro.
Memang aku lembab sikit sebenarnya.
Bro, kalau kau nak laju, kau nak top, kau nak jadi CEO, kau kena guna Nicole. Kau tahu kena pergi mana? Digital.dynamic.org. 200 je bro tahun.
Aku buat tu aku tak lembab dah.
Tak tahu bro, capacity kau macam mana. Tapi aku rasa Nicole ni boleh tolong kau lah bro. Confirm.
Okay. Berapa?
RM200 je bro tahun.
Boleh lah, duit raya pakai ya.
Selamba bro. Ni kau tengok ni bro. Cahaya bro, kau tengok ni. Ini daripada Howard bro. Power bro. Woi,
memang cantik.
Apa ni? Jangan ambil aku nya.
Okay.
Aduh.
Sorry. Aku teruja sangat lah.
Ni tak apa, kita tunggu sini.
Welcome back to Tech Talk. And, Karam, this is a power pack show, right? We've got Afzal, we've got Ram. We've got 2 more guests that are going to be joining the house. Karam, you want to help us bring them into the house and keep this into a thunderous house? So we've got Dash who will be joining us. They'll be dashing away. And Dash, actually, you're not jogging today. So very interesting. We had Dash make some comments earlier on the morning show that we had. So Dash, great to have you with us. And Professor Vinesh from APU is in the house. And we see a very subdued Karamjit Singh who's sitting very quietly for the first time today I think he's trying to get his breath, after what after Afzal bashed him upside down. Karam, you're wrong. Karam, you're wrong. Karam, you're wrong. Relentlessly.
No, I challenge him. He's wrong because Afzal is like 6'3", and he's like 400 pounds. So people get intimidated by him. So that's
but digitally you shouldn't get intimidated, bro. You can't see he's 6'3". So but you did you got intimidated by him. But that's okay because what I'm seeing is a lot of people are saying amen, brother Afzal, and so he's got the viewers on his side. So anyway, let's do a quick Dash, and Dash is not here for what you think he's here. He's here for something else. So Karam, you wanna set the stage for that?
Yeah. No. I want to speak to Prof Vinesh first, because Dash is a project that the APU is working on to move to the next level. But Prof, you listen to Ram speak, right? And I wanted to bring APU on, and I didn't want to bring a Monash professor on because I knew Ram would already be talking about what Monash is doing with them. And because you guys from the very early days, when I speak to Datuk Paramjit, your founder, he says that we are an industry-based university. But I find it glaring that I don't see so much collaboration between your university, your individual faculty members with the ecosystem, with startup entrepreneurs, with maybe even existing tech companies out there. And I'm wondering why that is, and what are your thoughts on what Ram said about how they were, finding middle ground with the student and the university, right? So it's win-win. And then as they're getting more comfortable now, they're moving on to his second student, and I'm so excited by that because we are at ground zero knowing that. So, a startup now is about to work with a second university student, and I'm so excited to say, hey, we are moving forward, which shows that we are the bar is so low, right, that I can get excited about something small like this.
Yeah, thanks, fellas, for having me on board. It's surprising that you made a statement just now that we are not recognized in the industry for startup collaboration. I just was in a discussion with a startup less than 2 hours ago on how to provide a student, actually 2 students, to support them on some back-end coding. So I'm surprised that we're not recognized because what we actually do at APU, we have a very deep goal. And our vision and mission is to basically introduce practical strategies to ensure that when we launch our own modern startups out of academia for our students, it is in line with the VMG for the university itself, right? And that includes nurturing, mentoring, knowledge and skills, and advisors on governance, regulations on how to basically pursue a collaborative startup or building that skills and knowledge for developing your own startup while you're a student. So what we did back in 2016, and this culture has been there from day one. The industry inclusion on academia at APU has been there from day one since our existence.
Yes.
90s. But what we did in 2016 is we developed our first Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Now
2015, 6 years old now, all right?
16, 5 years old now.
16,
and and that was to sort of navigate the purpose of nurturing students in order for their pathway in getting into a startup culture. But we also use that as a lot of secondary purposes, like how to ensure that what is being taught in entrepreneurship or innovation modules or subjects in our curriculums. There are many, there are over 20 spread across many curriculums and programs, that it is intact, it is trendy, it is of the currency that is out there in the market. But what we were leaning towards when we set up the center was transforming what was already there. So innovation processes, practices was already there, but we wanted to transform these innovation processes to cover a wider spectrum of what we entail as ideation to commercialization. So we have done that. We've been running a lot of boot camps, webinars, events, talks. We bring in. We had the CTO series, we had the CEO series, we had the CIO series. We bring in people to talk, and that was going on even during the pandemic. That was going on.
Yeah.
But what we found that could help us in this navigation was to achieve the innovation and entrepreneurship goals. We have to test our ideas in the market.
Okay.
And that can only come when you have someone who's experienced and someone or a partner from the industry that can help us get to that marketability kind of end goal. You see, so we've been developing products out of research projects, and we've been engaging with many companies and investors, and we've gotten to a point whereby we produce the talent, and then the talent goes on to the companies, or goes on to the startups, or thirdly goes on and builds their own startups. What we want to do moving forward is to go with the lean startup method approach, whereby we want the students and the researchers and the staff members of APU to discover ways on which is best in the existing system to springboard their startups. So we're not only talking about startups or students, but also for our staff members, academicians here, whereby they can springboard their own startups while being on campus, rather than going outside, rather than partnering with another collaborative startup, rather than joining a company. Be part of our environment. So this is basically a sidestep that will ballast their whatever is slowing them down, and that's important at this stage. So what happened in 2019, the later part of 2019, is we had the center, and then we wanted to develop a sort of a framework and a blueprint, and we developed a blueprint which was semi-rolled out in 2020 for 2020-2024, and this was basically putting in strategic goals, aligning and ensuring that the ecosystem that we wanted to design to cultivate student entrepreneurs, because we knew that they were actually a lot of them that were going and joining startups or building their own business, but outside APU. But we wanted to give them that environment, that placement, and that comfort and that nurturing on campus before they leave, and sort of looking at how we can cultivate or unfold their ideas to ensure that they can actually extend their creations and their ideation to a business. So what we were feeding earlier was just theories and knowledge, and then also a lot of advice and mentoring. But we wanted the entire ecosystem to come together, because our goal at APU from day one, and also now as trends have changed, as part of transformation, our goal is actually to ensure that we nurture students and get them to the startups while warranting the skills that is required. Of course, the knowledge is there in a lot of the subjects that they take, but warranting the skills on the way forward, right? And fortifying sort of their interests in attaining their own goals. So the student has their own goal of what they want to do, and we want to build those entrepreneurs, and that is why we as part of the framework, we started offering suggestions. How can we better provide the integration with startups as part of our own fabric education system that we are offering, and how do we grow the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we already had, the parameters that we had, but we wanted to widen the scope of what we had, and also to sort of take our staff and students to the next level. So in the long run, we wanted to sort of bridge the scientific research with the innovative solutions that will emerge from the ideas from the students, right? So we didn't want to do this only for a public view of the universities. We wanted to actually put in our heart and soul and motivate our students, and together with the professors and the academicians, to discover a new meaning to what they were creating. And that's what we have done as part of the framework. So for starters, right, we have appointed, and Dash is here with us today, and we wanted to embark on and have that strong person from the industry who has seen it all and done it all for the areas of entrepreneurship, taking your innovation into a startup and building a business. And so we coined this earlier word, entrepreneur in residence, as part of the framework. And we appointed Dash from Startup Malaysia, and he's here with us. And that was perfect to establish the venture building of what I spoke about earlier, and to accelerate our goals, in formation of this core sort of backbone in driving entrepreneurship and innovation on campus. And actually, the final goal is ensuring that we have a successful entrepreneurship ecosystem. And Dash is on board as part of that entrepreneur in residence. And funny enough, this year, the Ministry of Higher Education launched their blueprint for entrepreneurship for the purpose of education.
Oh, really? Yeah? Okay, I was not aware.
Yeah, it was done very recently in February. And it's funny enough, they had 3 key points as outcomes. The first one was entrepreneur in residence.
Okay.
And that was not a shocker because we had already done it. Yeah. And the second one was to ensure that you have an entrepreneurial council where we actually have our council. It's not called entrepreneurial council, which we will obviously transform into, but we have our industry advisory panel that is across the board. So they sort of cross-discipline, and they allow for this kind of councils, similar actions and discussions to take place. And the third one is to revolutionize your curriculums. So what we have done is actually revolutionize.
That's a very big word.
The content has to evolve. We cannot study what was there 30 years ago. We cannot even study what was there last year, because the requirements of the industry is changing, and that's what we have done. And it's somehow or other we had the knowledge before, and we already put that in place in motion. So launching a company among the students, I keep very close touch with my students and the students at APU. Launching a company has become very attractive to students, because they look at all the Mark Zuckerbergs and even some successful startups in Malaysia like Grab and all that. But it's becoming very attractive for students and even researchers. They also getting into that game.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, they're also getting into that game. And if the ecosystem allows, they would also like to have a startup. And startups are actually a projection for part of the research rankings as well. So that thing is now very attractive. So even if you have entrepreneurial programs, or even if you have a curriculum, or even have a subject or a module to it, it is not enough, because you must always understand that running a startup, whether you make it or fail, it depends on whether your ideas get to the market. So a lot of research, I think Ram spoke about research and all that, is fantastic. But how much of duplication of research happens in this country? Oh. So within the public universities, as we say, there are 20 over them, duplication of research happens. Now, how many of those research actually gets commercialized? It's very, very small percentage. So when we talk about research, we want it to be applied research.
Okay.
Best research that is done in collaboration with the industry, exactly what Ram has done, whereby he has connected with the university and somehow or other bring both minds together and getting that research up to scale. Now, what the industry can help is the commercialization and the marketability of the product that is finally created. And the traditional approach of tech transfer or knowledge transfer is sort of falling flat. You don't transfer and walk away. You need to not hold hands as well. You have to catch up with the current mobilization of startup initiatives. And that's how you basically can measure your success. If your product goes to market, that's where it is a tick in the box and you've scored your vision. And we've got a lot of startups. I can give a few samples. We've got ArcMind. That's a startup from APU, which basically provides IoT solutions for the solar power industry. Okay. And then we've got a company called mfixo.com. Basically, those guys, our students, they do online training for blue collar workers, specializing, funny enough, in painting and plumbing.
Wow.
So it's very niche. We have another company called Unify EdTech. It's a tech startup that basically consults space for counselors from different institutions, so that you can actually move on to the next level of education. And they're using AI. So it sounds so traditional and conventional, but they're using AI for university placement. That's quite interesting. Yeah. So that's a few few of what we have done, and Dash is there. And we're so happy to have Dash.
How does how does Dash fit the puzzle then? Is he
Right.
supposed to scare the hell out of the students and say, no, it's not going to be all hunky dory, it's not glamorous, it's not sexy, right?
Yeah.
And toughen them up, man them up, or woman them up, or so, I don't know. Yeah.
I think Dash comes in. I mean, my perspective, having known Dash, when you talk to students,
Sorry,
you have to-
how recent is Dash's appointment? Just this month or last month?
this year, but talks with Dash
January.
has been going on from last year. Yeah, we put pen to paper this year, but a lot of dialogues has been taking place since last year because we wanted to put the EIR in place since last year. Of course, the pandemic has not helped. You know, once you go into MCO, you get disconnected in a way, even though you don't meet face to face. There are things like that. It helps when you meet face to face. But yeah, if coming back to your question, you know, to think, to develop a student, you must come down to their level of thinking, and you must not have that hierarchical kind of displacement. So when I speak to my students, I come down to their level. I'm one with them, and I see that with Dash. Besides his outlook, he's youngish at heart. He's youngish in thoughts, yeah, and he can connect, and that's very important because in order to bring out the talent from the students, you must connect with them, and you cannot connect like a father or a big brother. You must connect as a peer and a friend.
Yeah.
It's very important. Yes.
Okay. So Dash, how has the experience been, Dash? What are some immediate learnings you're noticing on the upside and the downside?
No, I think the most important thing is that APU, I mean, I'm not saying it because they pay my fees or whatever it just has been doing quite a lot of work in the entrepreneurship space within the university. And they also have been developing. I mean, when you go and speak to the team, I find there's a lot of excitement. There's a glint in the eye. You know, they're not like, you know, the usual academics sitting down and saying we know everything. They are keen to learn. There is a curiosity in them to say, okay, we want to do this better. What do you think? What does the industry think? So I think that's a great DNA for universities to have, because to reimagine universities to prepare students for the future, I think universities should become learners by themselves, you know, to learn what's out there. And I think that's what APU has. And my job is basically to accelerate the learning by doing approach for the entrepreneurship students. So I'm pretty excited. You know, I think the team that Prof. Vinesh has put together is very cohesive. We are going to work on the syllabus. I think it's going to be cutting edge in terms of getting students to really understand what it means to build an entrepreneurial mind, see how to think, you know, in an entrepreneurial way, and to broaden their view of what it means to become an entrepreneur, as well as the scope that they have, that there will be startups that will be coming out of that. And I think the other thing that the university is also very keen to embark is to prepare the students for the changing marketplace, and you know, nothing is going to stay stagnant. To get students to embrace uncertainty that's outside, to become anti-fragile, as I always say. I think it's exciting. The experience has been pretty good. I mean, they've been very open with all their syllabus, very keen to talk to industry experts. I'm not an academic, so I don't know pedagogy. I don't know anything. So, you know,
But you say you're helping to create a syllabus. What do you mean? Since you're not an academic, what syllabus are you helping to create?
No, so to see what are the key elements that you need to put in place, like design thinking, you know, like the theory of effectuation on how to build these things, which where it is not, the content is not about entrepreneurship, but for entrepreneurs, you know, like Shah used to say, you know, so it is for entrepreneurs. That means, how do I think, not just ready to go and build on startups, but also those who don't want to build startups, how do they remain entrepreneurial and go on become valuable employees in organization as value creators? So you need to be very holistic in how you think about these things. So it's very exciting to do that. And yeah, definitely to cut all the bullshit about a lot of things that goes on in the ecosystem, so that we want to make sure that they are real, you know, get them real, put them in front of the investors early, you know, ask the hard questions. I think one thing that I want to bring into the university is to bring the hard questions, the tough taskmasters inside, so the guys get punched earlier so that they are ready when they go out. That it's the real world is not as easy as a cocoon in the university. I think that I've got a work cut out for me in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. Vinesh, Prof, how do you have any students who are working with startups like the way Ram is doing, where they actually trying to develop algorithms or create a product that a startup wants, and the startup is relying on the student giving guidance, but hoping the student can develop something for them. Because right now, sounds like a lot of the students are being plugged in and doing a specific job, and the startups don't need them to innovate. Just do this fast and quick, and then we'll give you the next job to do. So it seems like right now it's the traditional way, very task-based or role-based. Whereas this is, a bit of an open template, right? These are outlines. Let's see what you can come up with. Got problems, come to us and we'll try to solve it together. So am I right or wrong to get that sense, I think?
Yeah, so there are two parts to it. What you said on your view was exactly right, because there are a lot of students who are used for specific task-based work at the industry, and that's more likely the case. It has a higher percentage of involvement.
Exactly.
But there are a lot of students who also go to younger companies, who you can call them or define them as startups, whereby collectively they are also providing solutions to a problem of the product creation. And that's important. They may not have come up with the original idea, because the startup had come up with the original idea, but they are providing the added value development information or solution to the product which is in creation mode or in development mode. And that has been happening. You have a lot of engineers, a lot of computer scientists, or any type of students especially from the tech side, who have actually given their value to startups. And once they finish, they actually join the startups.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, is a very good simple example is we've got one student who provided solutions for temperature sensitive detection on shipments of cargo across certain distance. And then in the end, he joined that company because he came up with the sort of IoT temperature sensing solution. So he joined that company, and he is now part of that startup. And I think that whole that mindset of students joining a big MNC and walking in
outdated
organization is now different, because their whole concept of a working culture is no longer in joining a big company with a big salary. They're now looking at different type of and it's quite well dispersed in terms of the different 5 or 6 areas that they are looking for. And I think and this is where they're heading towards.
Okay. I guess Ram, when you hear Prof Vinesh talk about what they're doing, what strikes you? What's a key takeaway for you? Do you still feel that they are doing it a bit differently, or it could be done better? Or any suggestions, or you think they're fine and they'll figure it out?
No, I think this is definitely to be applauded and to be encouraged, because every university would find their own way to collaborate with partners, right? It's not a one size fit all. So I definitely like hearing that, but I think the onus is also not just on the university, it's on the startup founders themselves. A lot of them shirk away from investing into R&D, and they shy away from that. They feel that they're not smart enough. You've got to deal with those founders as well, for them to really see that it is possible. It is definitely possible. It is a win-win. It is a win-win when startups partner with research houses and the universities, especially local universities, local startups with local universities. While you could be a small startup, the university is much larger, but that doesn't it means nothing really. As long as you can find areas of collaboration, size doesn't matter. So I think it's for the startup founders themselves to actually see the universities as a friendly place for startups to partner with.
Very good. I like that, friendly place. So let's see with Dash there, how can he make APU a more friendly place for all the startups here to consider, collaborating with them, or trying to co-create with some of the students there. I think there was a question from Nigesh there. Did you read the question, Dash?
Yes, I did. Just the difference is in innovation. I mean, a businessman just does the same thing. Innovation differentiates the entrepreneur from the businessman.
Okay, fine. All right, guys, I think we're already at our longest show ever, which we expected it to be. Okay, Roshan, I think that should be enough for everyone sharing. What do you think?
And guys, thank you so much for your time. I think there was a ton of comments coming in. There's a whole bunch of people saying that Karam looks really, really good. There's and the connectivity question kept coming on and on, and so on and so forth. And in fact, Hari says, "Hello, Uncle Dash." So I need to go Dash, Uncle Dash. So tons of different questions coming in, and I think the best way to close this is amen. Everybody, it's been a good discussion. Thank you for your time, and we will get back to you next Friday, same time, same place. New guests and maybe some old guests too. Thank you so much, Professor Vinesh. Thank you, Ram. And thank you. And thank you to all my bearded.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck, APU, and good luck, Ram, also, Asia Mobiliti.
And for those of you who don't have beards, remember this weekend is a good opportunity to be like one of those 4 guys who people claim to be very handsome and good looking, unlike this one. So with that, have a bearded weekend. Take care. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next Friday, same time, same place on Tech Talk Friday. This has been Tech Talk Friday for you. Goodbye. Take care.